Hello everybody, and welcome to day 29. This is Easter Sunday. Today we'll be doing a Marquis, a 2014 Roja, and this is the Marquis de Cacered, and it's from the condensed 2000 Crescenza vineyard. Now this is the first tier of their wine. I mean, the lowest tier of the three Rojas they make. They make this, they make a Reserva, and they make a Grand Reserve. They also make other wines, but these are their bellwether issues that everybody, it's most well known. And this wine here sells for $12 to $14. It's a big wine. And this wine was produced 1970. They came back from Spain. They left Spain. The original founder and his father left because of the Spanish Civil War. They were producing wine in the 20s and 30s, and they left to go to France and the Spanish Civil War. And Enrique and his father went to France, and they bought two, well-respected Haunt Medoc, and then they also purchased another third tier, like a fifth growth Cacered. It was Chateau Cacered they purchased. So they learned their skills there, and they were there from probably, they bought that in 52. So they were there for about 15, 12 years, and then they bought that in 52. They left that in 68 and came back to Spain. And they went to the Rioja region where they came from. Now, originally, that region was a lot of grapes from France were there well before that, 100 years before. The two countries were pretty much the same kind of grape growers trying different. And he was always an experimentalist. And his daughter Christina, took over the vineyard. And she is the reason it really put it on the international market. They sell in, I think, 160 countries today. Now, the interesting thing with this wine is, this bottle here, okay, this is the less of the three, okay? This is grown in vines for anywhere from 15 to 25-year vines, old vines, okay? This is bottled for a year. This is fermented. This is done in, it's processed in stainless steel. It's done in French oak barrels. The barrels that are made of 40% French oak, 60% French oak, 40% American oak. Now, when I say Christina was smart in technology and spent money, she was cutting edge, and a lot of in the last 50, 60 years, a lot of people have started experiment with different oaks. They spend a lot of money. Old oak barrels cost a lot, and then they use new barrels, and then they age old barrels. Now, the Reserva, which is this wine's a 90. This is rated a 90, which is excellent for that kind of price. Now, the other wine, the Reserva, could be rated like a 91, 92. Okay, that costs about $19. That wine, and these wines are all hand-picked, but this is a blend, okay? They're all blends, certain amount, mostly 85, some are 95%, but most of them are 85. It's up to the climate. This is an Atlantic breezes. It's variable weathers. Like, they'll have a year where they'll pick the grapes. By May, they taste them. They're tasting them weekly. They get a bad rain come in, and that grape's ready. They'll pick that grape 30 days early. And they'll use different wines that they know are going to work and make it better, and enhance it. They don't want to get caught. And then they'll have wines where they get a hot season, and that wine is perfect. They'll even do special bottles. Like every 10 years or so, you'll see a winery come out with a special bottle, because they know how to make the grapes. But if God's on their side and they get all the right weather conditions and all the right picking. Now, the Grand Reserve in this, that sells for, let's say, 25. It's a black label, though. Okay? Those grapes are picked individually. The three types of grapes are picked. They pick like these, they'll pick the grapes, 85, 70, they'll pick them and just pick them. The other ones, and all the grapes are hand picked, but they'll process each grape individually before they even blend it. Okay? And they use, on the Reserva, they'll use the Grand, they'll use a 35, 40-year-old vines. And then a couple of years ago, they had a great vineyard. They used a 65-year-old vine. And the vines are everything. Because it's like a rose bush. As it gets older, it's called a grand rose. It's just, when older plants give better, produce better and tighter. Great. It's the same thing with an old grapevine. An old grapevine will produce a better grape. And they're also the soils they use. They use tiered soils. Like most of these soils, even in the gray and even in the, this and the Reserva, they're both all in clay. And the other one's in clay. But it might be a step terrace, so if the rain season comes down, the rain's going to flow. It's not going to hurt the grapes. It's moving through. There's a lot to it. And like the oak barrels that they put in the Grand, that will be bottled for 2 years, in the bottles for 2 years, in the oak for 24 months instead of 12, and it will only be French oak, which is more expensive. See, they'll use the French oak, the American oak. In Europe, wood's a lot more expensive than it is in the States. Forest orange is plentiful. And they're all done in stainless, and all the harvests are manually. The difference is maybe 1 year in a bottle. The Grand is 2 years in the bottle. 12 months in this one, in the barrel, 20 to 24 months in the other. But it makes a big difference. And they, when they get a premium grape, and that's like when you get to France, I mean, they're very, they pick in the barrels. They got the better pickers. They got the better soil. It's a little better soil. It's still clay with limestone mix in these. And, this still has the Atlantic Ocean, breezes and air. But this wine should be a fun wine. This should be a good one. Let's give it a pour. The grape they use is, they use a Temporelli, which is 85%. Then they use a Grenache Tina, which is 10%. And then they use a 5% Gricini. Now that's an Irish guy trying to say some of these, so I'm not all the best when it comes to them. Now, 94, they made a great vineyard in 2001, and then they call it a Grande. Not even these. They put it on a separate label, and that's a $50, $60 bottle. But it's a lot more working than the wines we've had the last couple nights. Even though it's just a little couple dollars more, you had a family here who's been making wines. They went to France, they learned from the Bordeaux, and they knew before they went there to learn. And he made a friend who was a botanist who was very good. This has got this color. See, it's red, but it's like a little loosened. You see your fingers. It's not as heavy as yesterday when you look into the wine. So if you look up there, you're not going to see anything. You look down like this, you see the color. Now, in this color, I haven't had it, but if I go to the Grand, I would think the color's going to be bigger, richer, darker, because it's sitting in a barrel 2 years. It's in the oak for 2 years, not one. It's in the bottle for 2 before they release it. Okay? Now, these wines is the interesting thing. It could be it could be the $30 bottle, the $23 bottle, or this $14 bottle, okay? They all going to stay for the same aging. These are meant to drink between probably 22 and 23 next couple of years. So this is a 2014. So if you bought this in 2014, it's released, let's say, in 16. You buy that bottle, you see a case you like, this wine will sit. You sit this for 3 or 4 years if you like it. You can buy it, you'll see sales and you can buy it for $10. It's spicier. There's even oak in the nose. So you can pick the oak up in the nose on this. It's not big, but there's a lot. This is probably not going to be as complex as the more expensive wines, but this is still got something. This is solid. And Yeah, you're gonna like this. This is nice. This is, I think, another one of these. Most of those European, these are called the younger wines. They're gonna be 13, 14 in alcohol. So you pick a little tannin on this. So the tip of the tongue, slight tannin, but a pleasant tannin. It's not like bite it, snap your neck back. It's a pleasant tannin, and it's long. You sip this wine, it works its way all the way back to the back, and then comes forward. You know, it's a nice. It just doesn't sit. It's working more front to back than sides. So that means, you know, the sweet or the tart. This is extremely well balanced. You know, you get them like, they come like this, and like sometimes the balance is okay, but this is more even balance. This is a nice even balanced wine. It's got spice. It's definitely got spice. Very little, but it's not overpowering. You know, you gotta search for it a little. You know, it's there. It's there. It's got like a pepper, or it's got my berries. It's got not as much berry as yesterday's wine, or the two the day before, the Portugal. They're more open berries. This is more of a tighter wine than that. Okay, this is more along a Bordeaux than what we had yesterday. Okay, you do the even the Malbecs or the red blend yesterday from Puglia. This here is a little different. This is not as flowery, you know. This is a nice wine, though. This is a very nice wine. Now, these I've had before. And you know, you can buy this in the dark and be pretty good with it. I mean, they have their game down, you know. And this would be great with lamb, you know. Spain, they love their lamb. They love their tapas. This is good. This is good for that pasta, you know. You could even do this with, you know, I'm a vegetarian. I could do this with good earthy vegetables. You know, when I talk about cheese, I only became a vegetarian 2 years ago. I'm dying with this cheese. I mean, I open these wines, I want to do all the cheese in the world. Give me a lamb chop. I look at this, I go, oh my gosh, give me a lamb chop. This is good. And a hard cheese with this. See, because it's not as flowery, it's got some cut to it. You do a hard cheese with this, it'd be fun. You know? And this wine drinks for the next couple of years. You know? And you know what's interesting? His daughter, Christina, came in, right? And then California. Then we have the Antinaris. His three daughters took his business over. Right? And then you go to California. Remember, Isabel took over her father's vineyard, right? And that was in the 20s, 1930s, 19, when did she take that over? 1930, right around Prohibition, right? 28. So, you know, maybe I should have not went to the bond business. Maybe I should have, you know, got a vineyard. I got three daughters. Well, listen, God bless you all. Have a happy Easter. And let's not forget, and let's keep in our hearts and our prayers, you know, people on the front line, the heroes, doctors, the nurses, anybody working in that hospital and walks through those doors, the police officers, our ambulance drivers that get called on these, our fire department, our EMT guys. I mean, a lot of them are volunteers. And they're out there, volunteers. They get called and they go, you know. And anybody who's out there working is, you know, putting themselves at risk for us, and we should be thankful. And God bless you all. See you tomorrow. Take care.